It's a blessing to welcome on one of the newest members of Utah. He was an all-defensive team from the Mountain West last year. Marco Anthony, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Kind of walk us through this decision because you were at Utah State obviously last year, had an incredible single season there, and now you made the transition to follow Coach Craig Smith and Raleigh as well out there now out to Utah. But
Mm.
just take us through the decision, like how you feeling right now?
I feel great. When I came here, Coach Smith was the biggest reason for me to come up here to Utah State. So
Mhm.
when he left, that was kind of um, that just let me know that it was kind of time for me to go. And then, luckily, when I put my name out in the portal, he reached back out to me and he said, "Marco, I want you to come to Utah with me." And so I was like, "For sure, yeah."
It's kind of the same story with Raleigh. So did you personally know, like once you found out that Coach Smith was moving on to Utah, did he not tell you, like, did he not start recruiting until once you put your name in the portal, or how that kind of works? So it kind of was just a complete guess when you put your name in the portal, or how'd that work for you?
Yeah, I was just like I put my name out there, and then that's when he was able to just, talk to me.
So once your name was in the portal and you started reaching out to, like, did you know that's the place you wanted to go? Like all along, is that where you wanted to end up, or were you also kind of looking at other opportunities?
Oh no, I always knew that, if Coach Smith were to reach back out to me, then I was gonna just go with him.
Well, give some fans a little insight into Coach Smith because we see his track record has been incredible. The things he just did at Utah State's been really, really special. And now he makes a transition up to the big stages, the Pac-12 at Utah. And they haven't been a bad program over the past few years, but it hasn't been the best, obviously. So,
Yeah.
what can fans be excited about Coach Smith? Like, what is Coach Smith bringing to Utah?
Just his energy, he brings a competitive nature, a winning energy, and that really it spreads to guys like me, and then that helps the other guys too. Just what he brings every day is never an off day with him. He's just always going to make you play your best, and then that leads to wins. So yeah.
Without a doubt, we're gonna get back into Utah to wrap this up in a little bit, but I want fans to get to know you a little bit better. So, and all the way back to Texas, from where that's where you're from. So, what was like growing up out there, and most specifically out to San Antonio? But what was like growing up out there?
I mean, it was real fun.
Mhm.
Um, all my best friends live down there, and just the relationships I built over there. It's like it's just a whole family down there. And even though we don't get you know, the notoriety that I believe that we should be getting, it's, it's whatever we make names for ourselves. So yeah.
When you flip over to the basketball aspect, obviously it's a loaded state, top to bottom. We know it's one of the bigger states, so that can be a factor. But when you just look at the names coming out of Texas, especially in the past 4, 5, 6 years, like it's a special time out there in Texas basketball. So, what was like on the basketball side of things?
I mean, it was great. The competition you played my last year, um, being able to play AAU, I played with Pro Skills, who's a EYBL team, and just being able to play with some of the other known guys across the state, and just going across the country and just playing in those tournaments. It was real fun. So yeah.
So you decided to go to one school for your whole high school career, which is something that some guys do, but we see a lot of guys, especially guys like in your platform, that's the guys that are ranked at well-known prospects. Like guys like to go transfer around, go find a bigger platform, bigger school for themselves. But you stayed loyal. You choose to go to Holmes High and you stayed there your entire high school career. But what led you really choosing that school? Like why was Holmes the place you want to go?
Just the coach, Coach Darvin Hall, great guy. He just real honest with you, but he's not like, he's strict, but he's not at like the point where he
Mhm.
degrades his players or anything like that. It's like I compare him a lot to Coach Smith because they both, bring the same out of you, and that's the best you can be. So, just um, being with him, there was no way that I could just leave that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, when you walked into that freshman season, and ultimately we see now you walked away with the senior year averaging 26 points per game, a 10 rebound season. But every year you average double digits. Like you go down as always records, you get all these awards for your high school career. Like, could you have seen that in your future? Like, was that what you're expecting? Is that what you're just were dreaming of? Like, how would you kind of would have taken that in if I would have told you that heading into your freshman season?
I mean, actually, before my freshman year, like going, like the summer before that, I
Mhm.
would go over to Holmes, and I would just always ask Coach. I would be like, "What do I got to do to make varsity? What do I got to do to make varsity?" And so he was be like, he was a big weight room guy.
Mhm.
He was like, just get in that weight room, and obviously go on the court too. And, I just did that, and then I was able to do what I did. But, that was always a plan for me to be able to do something like that. So I'm just glad that it went through.
And every basketball player's dream is to make it past high school, play at the next level, and any level is great, but especially Division One is the next level everyone dreams of. So when did that become a reality for you? Like when did you start thinking that okay, I can be a Division One player, like this is something I can truly do and play much longer than just 4 years.
Yeah, well, my high school coach again, that was a real big,
Hmm.
uh, just a real big tell for me that, just the things he would tell me, the things he would say that I would need to do. And also, like my AU coach before I went to EYBL, he was really a good influence, a good mentor. And so just, just having those guys by my side, I always knew that I would be, placed in the right situation.
So was there a certain point in time, like a game or even a time span that you remember started clicking for you that you realized that college is a likely thing for me? Like I'm gonna be playing in college someday.
Well, I don't know if it's like this everywhere else, but in Texas, you couldn't get recruited until you like your
Hmm.
junior year. And
Hmm.
so, the first night that it hit where you get recruited, I had like three calls, and then it was three Division 1 coaches, and I was like, because I didn't even think I was uh, as good as I could be,
Hmm.
even at that point. So I was like, dang, if I just keep getting better, it's just going to keep, elevating and elevating, and it did. So.
Now you look at just the overview of your high school career. Like I said, you end up coming away with multiple points, multiple records, all kind of stats and awards you end up piling in. But like, kind of take us to the first freshman season, like 18 and 14 as a team. You're averaging double digits, but still a freshman, kind of learning the scope of high school basketball. Like, what was that first freshman year like for you?
I mean, it was definitely different because in middle school and stuff, you're the guy, and really you're just playing for fun at that time. Like there's not really anything to, you're really thinking about. You're just playing with your friends and trying to win games and stuff. But in high school, you're actually, this is when college is right next to it, so you got to really start uh, going off and stuff like that. So it's just different, just with that pressure, and also playing along guys that also had aspirations to go to college,
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing how hard they worked and stuff like that. That really it was a motivation to me, but it also helped me grow as the year went on.
That sophomore for you was a huge jump. Obviously, the team stays about the same record overall, but you also jump up to 19 points per game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block per game. What led
Mhm.
to that jump? Like, what allowed you to break out to that level your sophomore year?
Just really learning from my senior. Whenever I was a freshman, his name was Adam Morales,
Hmm.
and he was just a bucket, and just always competing against that, always watching that every single day, and just learning from that. You know, when he left, somebody had to pick up that slack, and I worked so hard that all that time that why not let it be me? So that's how it happened.
Now, sidetrack a little bit. I want to get your take on this. And when we're looking at overall guys from Texas that's played college basketball last year, so that includes even guys that might be transferring out or guys that might declare like Greg Brown and whatnot. But is anyone from Texas that played in college last year? I want to hear your dream team. So if we're start with the starting lineup, like who was like the point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center, the best players from the state of Texas?
Including me, or I can't include
Yeah,
myself.
if you want to put yourself there for sure.
Well, yeah, I'll put myself there, of course.
Hmm.
I'll go uh, Tristan Clark, played at
Hmm.
Baylor. Um, Kevin McClure, he played. I always like mess up his last name, but he played at Texas Tech.
Hmm.
I'll go Royce Ham, played at Texas. That's four, and then I'll go. Hmm, dang, I'll go. Deshaun Jackson.
Hmm.
Yeah, that'll be my five.
For sure. Let's hop into that junior year for yourself then. You also jumped to 20 points per game. You guys have probably your best overall season, one of your two best. You guys got 20 wins, 12 losses. Take us to that junior year for yourself.
My coach just after my sophomore year, he told me that I have to make an even bigger jump, and
Hmm.
um, yeah, this is when I really started locking in. Like, okay, it's time to really get college's attention and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And so, um, yeah, that was really my biggest motivation and my biggest goals of that year. It was also to make playoffs, but unfortunately, that year we didn't. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was still I didn't see any regrets in that year though. Yeah.
So was there ever a point that you did start looking at schools? Because Texas is loaded with a lot of big programs out there. You also could have possibly went out of state somewhere. Like, was that ever something that crossed your mind? Did you ever look at taking another route to a bigger school?
Um, no, there's definitely schools that tried to like reach out and try to get me to like, hey, you could come here, you could come here, but I
Hmm.
just stayed loyal to my coach because I couldn't just leave him.
Hmm. And at the same time, too, we always know that when you start getting a lot more offers and your name starts popping up different rankings and whatnot, like you get a target on your back. You start being a guy that guys recognize, game plan
Yeah, for sure.
for. So how'd you get accustomed to that? Like when you're a guy that's walking into a game with offers like a Virginia, like a Boise State, like a Buffalo, Iowa State, all the schools that were in the mix for you. Like how did that kind of start changing your game and how'd you adjust to that?
I mean, it makes you have to play your best each and every night, and that like essentially gets you better
Hmm.
every game because you already know that the team you're playing, they're always going to give their best because they want to make you look bad. So, you either, you either go past that level or fold, and you can never fold. So,
Was the first time you started realizing that guys started recognizing you more? Like, was that challenging for you at all? Did it take some time to adjust, or did it not really alter you at all?
well, at first when they started to do like boxing ones and stuff,
Hmm.
the first time I ran into that, I was kind of like a whoa, like what is this? You know what I'm saying? Because it's never happened to me before, or you just didn't know how to deal with it. But after that, then you have to learn. You have to learn to adjust. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, after that moment, I forget what game that was, but I just learned how to adjust to it, and yeah, I figured it out.
Then that senior year, you have another great season overall, 21-11. You averaged 25, almost 26 points per game this year,
Mhm.
10 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block.
Yeah,
What was that year like?
that year my coach was on me. Even it was my coach and my trainer,
Hmm.
and he was just. I wasn't scoring that much at like in this time span because I was really trying to get my teammates involved and stuff. And then
Hmm.
my coach called me to the office. He was like, Marco, you see this, right? And it was like a green light. And he was like, you got this, right? And I was like, yeah, I got you. And then after that, I went on to average like, I think it was like 30 for a month, for a month
Hmm.
span. And then that really made my numbers like skyrocket. But that year, we also, I had the goal in mind. I had to make playoffs at least once
Hmm.
in my high school career, and we made it. Although we lost to I think they were the state runner up in Wagner. That's when we ran into Tristan Clark and Kev, and yeah, that was a bad game, but we made it though. So that's all.
I want to ask about Tristan because he obviously made the big move. He was at Baylor and decided not to play this year and had all this stuff going on. He decided to come back out now. And a lot of people are like, well, this is a guy that we saw was talented. He's had great seasons before and he kind of just disappeared in terms of guys in people's memory. But when he gets back on the court, like, what can schools expect from him? Like, how good is Tristan Clark?
He's a great defender. Do
Hmm.
stuff on the offensive end. Um, I think that he hasn't, although he got hurt, they say whenever you get hurt, you come back even stronger. So I believe that that's going to apply to him. And I just don't get, how people could just forget about somebody like that, just like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I think he has way bigger things ahead. And I don't think this is even close to, the end for his journey. Yeah.
So when you now look back at all the games you played in your high school career, is there one that stands out like the most? Like, is there one game that like when you think about your high school career, like that one comes first to your mind?
My senior year,
Mhm.
uh, we had to have a playing game to make the playoffs. And so, I kind of felt like that was my LeBron game 6 against the Celtics. And so, that was just like whenever I think back to high school, I just think of that game. Yeah.
You just mentioned two guys that obviously have gone to be special players, but was that like the main game like you were looking most forward to, or what was like that team like when you saw your calendar each season, like you want to go play that team?
And that brings me to who I forgot to add on my team. And
Mm-hmm.
that was Stanley Umude from
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. I don't know how I forgot him. He'll be in my starting lineup for sure. He'll be in my starting lineup for sure. But yeah, Stanley was definitely that one for whenever he played at one because he could just yeah, he was really like that.
And his journey's been unique. Obviously, he's gone to another high school for the past few years. Now he gets a big promotion up there to Arkansas. But
And another one was Jordan Burns, if I could include
Mhm.
him. Yeah, another one was Jordan Burns. I don't know why I forget. Like I'm really close with those guys, but I don't know why they just
No, that's what everyone does. It's not a big deal.
yeah, yeah. Jordan Burns and Stanley's definitely in that list. Yeah.
hmm Now, when you look at like overall, like a lot of these guys you just mentioned have had different journeys, but a lot of you guys don't get the attention that a lot of players across the country get, and even in Texas, 'cause I think Dallas and Houston is a lot more better cover than you guys are.
Yeah.
So, like, why do you think the reason is for like why do guys in San Antonio or other areas of Texas not get the attention you guys probably deserve?
That's exactly what we be asking ourselves.
hmm
Um, we really don't know. It's just like an overload. Like you have Dallas, you have Houston. They think, okay, that's enough for Texas. Let's go on to the other state. But you have San Antonio right there too, and I feel like San Antonio has made some great cases for us being the like in that top level as well. But I feel like sooner than later, the coverage is going to start picking up for San Antonio. So I'm not worried about that.
I'm not sure how much you've been able to get back there and see, especially because of COVID all in the past year or whatnot. But out of what you hear from the different coaches, different AU teams, like who are some of those underrated guys in San Antonio right now? Like who are the up and coming guys to watch for from that area?
You got Julian Sanchez, who's really underrated. He just had a great, I want to say it was a senior season,
hmm
and you don't hear no coaches talking about him as much as he should be talked about. You got Jesse. Um, I forget his last name, but there's this AU team in San Antonio called Elevate,
hmm
and they're just filled with a bunch of dogs from San Antonio. So um, yeah, just all those guys on that team, just a whole bunch of guys are just looking to get their name out there, and they're just from tournament to tournament, they're slowly proving themselves. But once they get into that coach's eye, once they find that coach's eye, then that coach would be lucky to get them.
Absolutely. Let's go through your process because you got a decent name for yourself. Still got ranked on 247, the top 200. You pulled in a pretty good amount of offers. You're talking about Boise State, Iowa State, Buffalo. A lot of these schools are in the mix for you, but you ultimately do choose Virginia. So
Mm.
take us to that process. Like, what was it about Coach Ben and that program that brought you to Virginia?
I mean, just the stuff um, they were telling me.
hmm
A name that always popped up was Malcolm Brogdon, and when you're a young kid coming out of high school and you hear a name as as valuable as that, you think, wow, they really think that I could be the next him, and especially a school like Virginia, ACC. I think a lot of kids, and myself included, I fell into the highest. You got to
hmm
play in the highest conference to really get your name out there when that's not really the case. It's just what you do where you're at, and they'll find you. So yeah.
It's become something that I think a lot more guys are becoming aware of. And obviously, a lot of guys have been interviewing through transfer portal have your kind of same story where they've gone to high school, they've obviously come back down to different school, like a mid-major conference. Now they've moved their way back up to high major, like your story. But that's something coming out of high school that guys all, like you said, they think, oh, it's Virginia, it's whatnot, or even on the bigger scale, it's Kansas, Duke, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like truly finding the best fits was going to get you there because guys like John Morant clearly worked out just fine for him,
Yeah.
and the list goes on. But how important is it for a high school recruit to look at and truly look at who's the best coach for me, who's the best system, who can I truly trust, as opposed to name and just kind of history and stats, historical wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I never really had that. I never had the voice in my ear about, go where you're needed.
Mm.
Don't go where like it's the highest name or whatever. Because the thing for me was I always just wanted to go D1. I want to go to highest. Just play over there. But if I just had somebody that was to tell me like, hey, go where the coach really needs you. You know what I'm saying? So um, yeah, yeah. If I was given that information, then a lot of things would have changed. But for kids out there that are going through the same stuff, just be patient and just really, really do your research on and know who you're going to. So, yeah.
Now, in that 2 year span, obviously it's not a very long time, it's only 2 seasons for you out there, but you really get two historical things to your name. The first
Mm,
season, you guys go out there and the first number one seed to lose to a 16 seed. The following year, you become a national champion. So that's
mm,
a lot of highs and lows. It's ultimately the lowest point you could possibly reach in college basketball to the highest point in college basketball.
yeah.
Like when you just look at those two memories, like just walk us through how that all happened and that went down.
I mean, you see the 1 seed losing to the 16 seed, and you're just a part of that. You're part of that team, and you see just how that affects because you're in the locker room after the game, so
Hmm.
you see just how everybody takes that, and it's just shock. It's shock. There's crying going on. It's like what just happened. This isn't real, But then you see the process of going into the next year and um, just the motivation that everybody has that something like that would never happen again, and then ultimately that hard work just pays off to the high, like you said, the highest achievement in college basketball, which is winning the national championship. So just being a part of that was truly special.
Now, for you, especially that freshman season, you didn't get too much run, but
Mm,
you're obviously kind of taking in that first game of the tournament by yourself on the bench.
mm.
Like, what was going through your mind as you saw that happening? Like, what was just going through your mind that entire game?
I was kind of like the whole emotion in the locker room. I was like, this is not happening right now. Especially the way it went. Like it wasn't like they hit a buzzer beater or something. Like
Mhm.
they was really whoop like it wasn't close. So just
Sure.
being a part of that, you're like, yo, am I dreaming right now?
Hmm.
But yeah, it was wild. Definitely wild.
Now, that probably wasn't the ideal season for you as in whole. Obviously, you said you only played 13 games that year. A great
Mhm.
overall team. You're still 31-3 record. That's special. But what was going through your like season? Like, how'd you handle that? How'd you just not really playing too much after playing, as we talked about earlier, really every single minute of your entire high school career?
Yeah, it was definitely, you know, um, it was just definitely a low point for me.
Hmm.
But I also found like the positives too,
Hmm.
like who I was playing behind. You had Ty, you had my freshman year, you had Ty, you had Devin, um, and then you have Dre, you have Kyle, and those are NBA guys. And so if you're in my position, you just do as much as you can to learn from them and try to take from them while also trying to earn minutes yourself. And I wasn't able to earn the minutes for that, but I learned a lot from them, so that was good.
That's a key point because God obviously puts everyone in different situations, and clearly now you moved on. We saw how great you all could have been there, and how great you obviously are as a player at Utah State this past season. But
Mm,
when you're in a scenario like that, it's not ideal. It's not what you want. You could also take that opportunity to go out there and just kind of be depressed all year, not really what you want. But another mindset, like you said, you can look at the positives to a degree. Like, okay, I'm learning from these guys that are some of the best players in college basketball, guys that's going to
right.
be playing in the NBA. How did you kind of get that mindset though? Because I'm sure you were depressed at different times too, though. But
Yeah.
how did you ultimately start finding the positives and that start really growing from the situation you're in?
Really just, it's a long year, so
Hmm.
you have two choices. You either just let that destroy you as a basketball player and let that be the end for you, or you just continue to elevate your game for when the right opportunity um, arises, then you really get to go to work. And I went the latter route on that. So yeah.
You mentioned some of those guys' names. I want to go a little bit deeper into that. One, like you said, Ty Jerome. He's playing at a special level right now at Oklahoma. What
Yep.
was like learning from him? Like, what are some of the biggest things you took away from being around him all year?
Just his IQ for the game.
Hmm.
Um, that his floaters. I've never like known how important a floater was in your game until I saw Ty play. And then, because I was big on mid-range pull-ups and stuff in high school, and so I got to Virginia and I started to try to do that stuff, and every time I'll just get blocked and blocked and blocked. And Ty was like, "Yo, shoot a floater." And then, I started to develop that in my game, and now it's automatic, and that's all because of him. Just him telling me that, him always being he still mentors me to this day. He always gives me advice and stuff I need to do in order to get to where I'm trying to get to. So I really value that.
That's awesome. Go a little bit deeper into that a little bit because a lot of guys sometimes they might move on and forget about other guys behind them. But
Mm.
him, like, how has he kind of helped you? Like, what's the things he's giving you advice on? How has he impacted you even to this day now?
Yeah, I just ask him uh, like for example, I asked him. I want to say it was like 2 days ago. I
Mhm.
told him, "Did you do anything different the the off season of your league year, like when he declared for the draft?"
Mhm.
And he just told me like, "Hey man, I just went harder." And just stuff like that, little stuff like that is, it's motivating to me, and it really influences me to just keep going. But it's a lot more stuff than that. Like he tells me about the NBA life and how to handle certain things and stuff like that, and I just take all that in. And Dre does the same thing as well,
Mhm.
DeAndre on there. So yeah.
Now, when you get to sit back and you just watch these guys that you've grown up with, and also the guys you mentioned too, like guys you grew up playing high school with, like when you see these guys playing at a high level in the high school level or the college level or then even the NBA level, like what's it like kind of watching their careers also unfold as they live out the dreams you're also living out?
You you're grateful for that because
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of people, especially this day and age, they kind of get jealous from stuff
Yep.
like that. But you can't do that. You gotta, your flowers will come. Your time will come at some point. So um, while your process is happening, enjoy other people's triumphs and applaud them for their successes. Don't just oh, they're just doing that because uh, they were lucky. You can't do that because then you're just you're living in envy and you can't do that. So yeah, I just applaud all my people for their success.
You mentioned DeAndre as well, and we know his jump he was having. Clearly, he got a lot of injuries past year that kind of stopped him from really having the full effect of the breakout season he was going to have. But what's the impact he's had on you, and what was like just going up against him at practice day in, day out?
Oh, he was probably the best defender I've ever uh, competed with, competed along, and I feel like he's the reason why I've really elevated my defensive ability too, because just the way he was able to stop people from scoring and just the things he did, and his offensive game is just as elite as his uh, defense. So just being around that and seeing that, you're just like wow, but you still you take from it. So yeah, it was really helpful, really helpful.
So when did that defensive knack come into you? Because your overall steals and block stats were pretty solid in high school, but we know your best thing was obviously getting a bucket. You were one of the most dominant scorers in Texas during your time there.
Mhm.
Like, when would you say you got that defensive knack to you? Was it because of DeAndre when you got to Virginia? Was it Utah State? Like, when did you really start getting that defensive knack behind you?
No, it definitely was because of DeAndre.
Hmm.
Definitely, just watching him and just you sit the bench every game, so you just watch and you just see him go against like the other team's best player and just absolutely shut them down. So you
Hmm.
just see how he does that, and you're like that's so helpful for the team. So just being able to do that, because sometimes your offense not going to be there, but you can always control like what you're doing on defense. So yeah.
The sophomore year still probably wasn't the goal year for you, but you did get to go play in 22 games as opposed to only 13 from the year prior. But what
Mhm.
was that sophomore year like for yourself?
It was definitely another low point, but
Hmm.
again, the people that was playing ahead of me, not to make that an excuse or anything, but
Mhm.
Ty, Kyle, and Dre, they had coach's trust. Um, so just again another year of just watching them.
Mhm.
Another time where I could have took the route of, man, maybe this isn't for me, or let me just uh, continue to work and continue to put my head down and chop wood. And of course, there was those days where um, I was like, maybe this isn't it. But then you get right back into it, and you're like, yeah, I could do this. And so, yeah, again, I just went with, you know, uh, motivated myself each and every day to just get better. So,
So when that year does come to a close, we know you put your name in the portal, you end up going to Utah State, all that
mhm.
goes down. But like, did you think or consider coming back to Virginia? Or did Coach Bennett want you to come back? Because obviously at that point, then we know all those guys declared, they all went to the NBA, they got drafted and all that. Like, were
Mhm.
you looking at possibly coming back to possibly have a bigger role, or was that something you just said, okay, I need to move on and go to Utah State, and that's the only option for me?
Yeah, I just felt like I needed to go somewhere and just completely start over,
Hmm.
and just really, like, this time, do what I should have done in high school and really,
Hmm.
factor in everything. And that's how I ended up in Utah State, and I felt like I made the best decision for myself doing so.
You do have to redshirt that first year, and that brings us to kind of the big question of every topic in college basketball right now, and that is the transfer portal. We know now the rule is you can go right there and play without redshirting, but I know a lot of players have said too, like taking that redshirt year can be beneficial too. It helps you develop your game, learn the system, getting used to the environment out there. Like,
Oh yeah.
how would you say that kind of helped you? Like taking that extra year to fully working on your game, not worry about being able to play in games. How did that help develop you for what was your breakout season this past year?
Oh yeah, it helped a lot. Because coming from Virginia, um, I say that I was always motivated myself to get better and stuff, but still, like, your mentality isn't, it's not like it was back in high school. Whenever he was playing every second on the court, he was averaging 25 or whatever. It definitely went down, but as I'm in my redshirt year and I'm going against, NBA talent and Sam Merrill, and I'm going against him every day. And then um, I'm also gaining, like, you know, some gaining some trust from the coaches that recruited me here, and just they're all telling me great things and stuff like that. That really, that brings up my confidence back up. And so just that whole year last year was phenomenal for me.
So with this new rule, like I think guys that are more veteran, guys that are in your position that's already an upperclassman, it might make more sense to not have the year off or whatnot because you're kind of used to the system anyways. But do
Mm.
you think guys that are transferring that might be a freshman heading to sophomore year or a sophomore heading to junior year, like do you think it could be more beneficial for them to be able to get a year off or for them to just be able to go out there and play right away?
Well, I feel like since they applied uh, that extra year,
Hmm.
um, that you might as well just go out and play right away and
Hmm.
just learn first. Just learn on the court, learn everything on the court. Because if things go bad, you still have that extra year that you could use. So
Hmm.
I would say just go, just play.
So how about after like the whole years, things extra years open, like for guys probably in like what I think might be the 2024 class, whatnot, like down the road without extra year, do you think that extra year could be beneficial to kind of register and take off, or what do you think, or would you rather say it's best to just go right there and play?
I would say do the sit out,
Hmm.
do the sit out, and just really learn what you're getting into, because there's going to be a learning curve, of course.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would say to just sit out really.
And also, there's one guy at practice day in, day out you're going up against, and it's someone that I think got nowhere near the respect he showed up down there at Low at Center this past year. But you got to see him to kind of develop firsthand Neemias, and now he's a guy that probably will end up being a second round pick. I personally think the top 15, top 20 type of talent. But what was like his competing against that type of guy, having him dominate the paint day in, day out at practice throughout your entire career there?
Oh yeah, it was definitely you see it and you're like, what is going on? Like, every time, say you get blown by, it's just the ball's back in your hand somehow, and that's because he blocked it back to you. So
Mm-hmm.
just going up against that and playing with him is just special. You throw it in, it's an automatic 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's just really special, really special.
And we already talked about the guys you compete against out there at Virginia, and those guys are all special. But there wasn't a guy like Neemias in terms of down low, like that could literally block just about anything you throw out there. So
Yeah.
that first like day you started practicing with the team, you got out there and saw that guy dominating the paint. Like, what was that first practice like trying to attack him down low?
Well, whenever I first got here, that's when he had that injury
Mm-hmm.
that he suffered in the his thing out in Portugal, and so he wasn't really practicing when I first got here. But then he'll tell you this, that whenever he first returned, I was jellying him. I was hitting him with some jellies, and that's not cap. So he'll tell you that. But then once he started to get a little bit more healthy, he still wasn't blocking me like that. He still, but we definitely definitely alters your shot though.
Mhm.
Definitely a person that alters your shot and does a lot of things. Does a lot of things special. So yeah.
So what's the best finish you've ever had on him, and what's the best block he's ever had on you?
Um, Best finish. I never dunked on him. I never dunked on him. You know, I'm not gonna lie on here and say I dunked on him. Mhm. I really don't know the best finish. I've definitely jellied him a lot. Like it's not like a one time thing. I just gotta lay
Mhm.
him on. So it's definitely like an everyday thing. But his best block on me, I don't think he ever blocked me for real. I don't think he did. I really don't think he did.
So what's the best block you ever seen him do at practice to anyone on the team then?
Oh, he's definitely oh, I forget who, but he just like grabbed it out the air and it was like, yeah. I forget who shot it because I would definitely put him on blast if I remembered who. But he just grabbed it from him, and I was like, yeah.
You mentioned someone else you got learned from that, Sam Merrill, who's also having a nice little role this past year now, starting to get established in the NBA a little bit. But
Mhm.
what was like just being around him? Like, what's the biggest thing you took away from his game?
He just comes and gets to work. He doesn't. There's a lot of trash talking and stuff like that. He's not one of them. He just gets in, does what he has to do, and leaves. So very business like, but off the court, just a real fun guy. He's goofier than many would expect him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but overall, he's just a great person.
That is a unique characteristic about his Coach Smith's teams, obviously, because you look at your guys who are elite, and I know you guys had a different type of dog mentality. I know a lot of people think that Patrick Beverley type of player is the only dog mentality there is, but a lot
Mhm.
of you guys were like the ones that are more just locked in. You guys were going to press up. You guys still play great defense, obviously.
Yeah,
But a lot of you guys were more quiet. It wasn't a lot of the trash talking, celebrate type of team. So
yeah.
what's the kind of culture like? Take us to that. Something that Coach Smith doesn't want you guys doing. It's just ultimately it's who you guys all it's like kind of the personality as all are, or like how do you guys all kind of form that type of dog mentality?
Yeah, I would say there's more just a personality thing. Like if there was a time in the game where you did trash talk or something, it's not like Coach Smith would pull you aside and be like, "Hey, don't do that," because Coach Smith is very like, you're your own person. This is a player-led team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have advice to give, and y'all know to listen to that. But I'm never gonna, hold you down as a person or as a player. I'm gonna let you be free. So, you
Okay.
know, that's very, I respect that a lot from him. And but yeah, I think it's just a personality thing with all of us. We were never really, none of us really just are talking the whole game. We just come out and play.
Now you guys go into quarantine and COVID comes into effect. Then after your regular season, and another opportunity opens up for you to say, "Okay, I've got a certain amount of time now where I'm not gonna be around the team. There's obviously no contact with anybody, just myself working out on my craft." How'd you approach that workout? Like, what was your off season like, getting ready for what your breakout season just was?
My off season wasn't really like what I don't think anybody's off season was,
Mhm.
what they expected. So, back home for me, I couldn't find a gym. I couldn't have anything. So, my trainer, he actually had this little like storage setup,
Mhm.
and he had like a little basketball hoop in there, and we just spent all summer in there just grinding because he had the basketball stuff, and he had some weights and everything, and that was really how my off season went.
So when you were getting ready for the season, and it wasn't an easy one, we know all you guys were pretty much mandated to be away from each other. Like no one was really in the locker room other than a couple guys at a time. But what was your thoughts on the like? Did you expect to have as good of a year as you just had? Do you think you could have been better? Like, how do you think you played this past year?
Well, I feel like I exceeded a lot of people's expectations, but I don't think, I exceeded mine or,
Mm-hmm.
anybody that's really close to me. I don't think I exceeded any of those expectations. But, I could say that um, I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely learned a lot because I went on a little run where I scored double digits, like, I don't know how many straight games, but then um, all of a sudden it just plummeted. And that was due to like different something that I haven't seen,
Mm-hmm.
especially like on the college level because I haven't played. So it was just like, you're on scouting reports now. Teams are starting to really adjust to you. So
Mm-hmm.
now what are you going to do if, you know, um, teams start to pack the paint on you, teams start going under. So that just really made me be like, wow, like I gotta learn from this. I gotta adjust to this. And that's what really helped me figure out what I really need to work on this off season. And so, yeah, I feel like this past year is definitely a learning experience.
And for guys that really watched Utah State a lot last year, I love watching Mountain West, and you guys kind of changed the system, the way you guys kind of played really a lot more towards the end of the year. Obviously,
Mm,
for a lot of the portion, it was like a lot of the guards, you, Raleigh, Brock, a lot of you guys were really the focal points of offense. Then you guys really
yeah,
started focusing down low. So Neemias really started
yeah.
running your offense through him. What led to that transition? Like, why did you guys kind of decide to flip the offense to a degree and really start working more around down low action as opposed to outside?
It was due to the personnel we played
Mm-hmm.
in, conference and conference games. Like, um, out of conference too, there was nobody that could guard Nemi. But then you go in conference and you're playing, it's like every time you give the ball to Nemi, you're gonna score.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just simple, like, it's just that simple. So we
Mm-hmm.
go into conference and that's the way, we're gonna do things. And I would say that that shows how selfless, all of us were because nobody was like, oh, I need to shoot more, I need to, make more plays. It was just we're trying to win, so we're gonna do what it takes to win. And that was, feeding the ball to Nemi. And we won that way. We got to the tournament that way. And unfortunately, we lost to Texas Tech, but it was still a great season.
The country doesn't get enough respect to the Mountain West. I think it's a really stacked conference. When you're talking about San Diego State, you guys, Boise State was a great season. Colorado State's a very special up and coming team too. Even teams like Wyoming really put it on a show with UNLV and whatnot. Like,
Mhm.
how special is the Mountain West, and what do you really like about playing with them?
It's just a whole lot of you know um, underrated players.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way to describe the conference is underrated. Like you have a lot of high level guys in this conference, and just to be able to be a part of it and to be successful in it, that really spoke volume to myself about how I am as a player. And um, yeah.
There's two games specifically I want to touch up on about your career out there.
Mm,
22 points against Northern Iowa. That had to
mm,
feel good. It was early in the season. You get back from the quarantine break. You haven't played in 2 years and really haven't got a lot of opportunity now in almost 4 years or whatnot.
yeah.
But what was that first game like? Getting out there, playing 20, getting 22 points in that game. What was that night like?
Well, that was the our third game of I want to say the mowers
Mm-hmm.
tournament. And we had lost to VCU, and we had lost to South Dakota State. And coach was on us. Coach was on us so much. And a big part of I'm supposed to be the leader of the team, and I just wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. So when I hear, especially coming back from my situation at
Yeah.
Virginia, you hear coach say, if we don't figure this out, we got to change some things. In my eyes, I'm thinking he's like talking directly to me, and I was just like, there's no way I'm going back to the situation I was in. And so that third game happens, and just extra motivated, and that was the outcome of it.
As you said, you really emerged as a leader, and that's something you did obviously throughout high school. You were that go-to guy, that leader, all your career there. But a lot of people don't realize, like, people just throw away the kind of throw out the word leadership to a lot of guys. Oh, this guy's gone. This guy can become the leader now. but
Mm,
it's truly a skill. It's truly a trait that guys have to have, and it's
yeah,
kind of hard to kind of go from not having any type of role on a team to
yeah.
not leading a team that's a tournament team type team like Utah State was. So how
Mm.
did you all of a sudden emerge as a leader all of a sudden again?
I mean, that goes back to me learning from Ty, just the way he, carried himself, how he led the team when things were going bad, and even when things were going good, he was still, um, lead in ways, and learning from that, but also um, just knowing that you need a voice every day, you need to bring it every day, and um, also knowing another big factor was my freshman year uh, at Virginia. We had a senior by the name of Isaiah Wilkins,
Mm-hmm.
and his leadership skills was off the charts. And I really took um, I really I appreciated that, and I really, uh, I took value in that. And I would even text him. I would be like, like how did you get how are you able to do that? And he was like, you just be yourself, man, and everything takes care of itself. So that's really what I took in, and I brought that here to Utah State.
As I just got done saying too about the Mountain West, is that it's got a ton of great talent out there. There's probably gonna be about 5 or 6 guys drafted this upcoming draft. But for you, you look at all the guys you went up against between Isaiah Stevens, David Roddy, that combo, Jordan Shackle, Matt Mitchell out there at San Diego State,
Mhm.
David, who you're gonna become teammates with now from you at UNLV. Like, who was that guy that you loved playing against this past season?
Um, Isaiah Stevens. There's actually a few. It was Grant Sherfield from Nevada,
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Stevens, Bryce Hamilton from UNLV.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just guys that were very aggressive, and because you knew Grant was going to come down, and every play was meant for him. So he's gonna be in action every play. So that's just really challenging. You really challenge yourself to uh, you have to go down defend, because the only way they're going to win is, if he goes off. So if you hold him from going off, then, more times than not, you're going to end up winning that game. The same thing with Bryce. Bryce was a two-man show with him and David, and Raleigh had the responsibility for Jenkins, and although Jenkins had the 33 on Riley's head, and I'll just throw it out there, but just playing Bryce, and he's he's going to be aggressive all game. You play Isaiah Stevens, and he was different because he would play within the offense, but he would still get his. But it was never like, it's an ISO situation. It was always like a set ran. So just always being prepared in situations for that, just those guys was really, really special.
And the thing about you is you walked away making the Mountain West all defensive team, and that shows a lot because I don't think a lot of people might say I was a mid major conference or whatnot. But I think
Mhm.
it's going to translate exactly perfectly out there to the Pac-12 now because you mentioned all these guys, they might not be headline names, but Grant Sherfield will be drafted next year eventually in the first, second round. You mentioned Isaiah Stevens, I think he has a chance of eventually making that. Bryce Hamilton's a first round pick. If he went this year, goes next year, like he's special. All these guys, like NBA caliber guys. So
Mm.
how have you been able to lock in and become that great of a defender? Both at that level, and how do you plan to translate that now to the Pac-12?
I just feel like defense travels.
Mm-hmm.
Defense. You could bring that every game.
Yep.
Like I said before, you're gonna have games where your offense is off, or the ball's not going in for you, but you can always control how well you're doing on defense, and that's just really what I took in, and you know, what I continue to believe. So if I can control one thing, that's always defense. So that's what really helps me out.
So the last thing I want to touch up on about Utah State before we head up into Utah is you guys got an experience that hopefully is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and that was the bubble. Going to the tournament, staying in a bubble, staying in your room for 2 days by yourself. Then you also go out there and play your first game. But what was the whole bubble experience like for you?
It was, I mean, it was definitely boring. It was definitely boring. Um, but I just chilled in my hotel room the whole time. We were given shoot around times, practice times, and
Mhm.
um, yeah, it was definitely weird to just stay in your room all day. But you know, You gotta do what you gotta do. So yeah.
Now, ultimately, you guys didn't get the big goal of being able to win the championship or at least even advance in the tournament, but you guys still went out there. You got to play a game. You were on March Madness, and you did it before technically, but this one just truly was you playing in the game. Like this was you being a
Yeah.
vocal point of that game. So, what was that like? Just knowing that you finally get to live out that thing that your whole life growing up, you saw the brackets, you saw this game playing in March. Like to be on that court, like what was going through your mind?
Well, the first play of the game, I broke my finger,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was like it was bad because I just remember because Texas Tech, they're big. Like if you drive in, they all collapse on you.
Yep.
So I drive in, and they're like just a whole bunch of ants just come in, swiping at the ball, swipe, swipe, swipe. I get a 3 second call, and then I just like my finger just starts throbbing and throbbing, and I'm like, ah, God. But I'm like, this isn't how my first NC like my first March Madness game was gonna be like, because um, all that stuff happened, and then you know I feel like although we lost, we still we showed a lot, and um, definitely a learning experience. It was a lot of our guys, first times out there, but that's not an excuse to make. But it was just a great learning experience, though. Great learning experience.
You mentioned him earlier, but you did get to go up against someone you play against in high school throughout your entire career in Calvin. Like, what was that experience like going up against him again?
Oh yeah, it was definitely fun going up against another San Antonio guy that's doing successful at the collegiate level, and um, just he had a really good game, and it was fun to go up against him.
Absolutely. Well, you put your name in the transfer portal we discussed earlier, and you end up at Utah, but clearly it's kind of self-explanatory. You want to coach Craig Smith, that you said he's going to be a coach again. But
Mhm.
before they reached out to you, like who else were you talking to? Like, was there another guy another school you said, okay, they might be my second favorite school. Like that was a really good option too.
The schools that reached out were Texas Tech,
Hmm.
um, Iowa State, Maryland, uh, Boston College. It was funny because BYU reached out too, but uh, yeah, just those schools, and it was just I liked it because my first go around and when I transferred, I wasn't getting no high names like that, and well, I was getting some, but it definitely wasn't that like that many schools. You feel me? So just to get that let me know like, hey, uh, like I really did something this year, and um, it was just like now you build off of it and you get to your next goal, and that's the plan.
And we mentioned earlier that finding that coach that wants you, that plays you in the right position is the biggest thing. But I'm sure possibly going back home could have been enticing too. Like Texas Tech's a great school, and I'm sure you probably would have liked those offers early in your career too to be able to stay home or something like that. Like, what was it like hearing that they wanted you, and was that something you ever seriously did consider?
Oh, it's definitely cool, and it was definitely cool to hear from them. But I had to follow the guy that when I first put my name in the portal. He was Coach Smith was one of the first guys to,
Schumaker.
if not the first to reach out,
Mhm.
and just ignoring everything that happened the 2 years prior, my sophomore freshman year, not playing. He didn't question any of that. He's just like, Marco, come on over to Utah State. We need you. So
Mhm.
yeah, just knowing that and just understanding the guy he is. He's never going to sell you a dream. He's never going to lie to you. Um, he really wants what's best for you. So you can't just leave a coach like that.
Mhm. So let's get into this transition now. You're going out there to Utah and you're joined by some familiar faces. Gabe, I'm not sure you probably ever played against or talked to before, but David, you already mentioned him. You got to go up against him twice this past season. Clearly, Raleigh was your teammate, and you had the coach that was just coaching you. So
Mm.
going to a situation where you're pretty familiar, like there's some guys you've talked to them, you've played against, or pretty close even to with Raleigh. Like, how much more comfortable does it make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel like I'm not even like really leaving for
Hmm.
real, because I basically got the whole coaching staff at Utah. I got the strength coach
Hmm.
coming from Utah State to Utah, and Coach O, and I got Raleigh with me, so he's my roommate, and it's just I feel like it's not going to be as big as big of a change as if I went to another school, obviously. So yeah.
You gotta take us through your commitment video a little bit. Obviously, we just kind of explained to us, like kind of take us through the whole video.
Oh, I just think like it's the dark side. Utah is the dark side. So especially with because the thing that just kept flashing in my head was Coach Smith shooting up the "Go Utes" in his like the last part of his press conference, and that really just made me like that was some evil stuff right there. Like that was some you know Darth Vader type stuff. So when I decided to make the decision to go to Utah, I'm like I'm going to the dark side. So yeah.
This will be a great opportunity. Clearly going to the Pac-12, which hopefully gets a little more respect this year because of what they just did in the tournament. But how
Sure.
excited are you to be a part of the Pac-12 now?
It's the League of Champions, so
Mm-hmm.
very exciting going up against the big time schools with big time history. UCLA, you got USC, Oregon
Mm-hmm.
State, all those schools, and just going up against them, you really get to see what level you're really at, and so I really feel like this upcoming year is going to be a huge one for me, and um, yeah, I feel like it's going to go really good.
Is there one team specifically that you're kind of looking up to that you're really excited to go play against?
Not really. I just really feel like going against everybody and just really, making a name for myself as well as uh, taking Utah back up to the level that we want to be at. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, as we mentioned too, like this Utah team hasn't been the best in the past few years past, but you're gonna come in there now and you have potentially 2 years to play out here. We'll see which if you want to take the extra year or not. But when you look at this overall business program, making them a contender in the Pac-12, what's it gonna take to make that happen?
Just um, you know, at Utah State this past year, our biggest thing was that our culture was defense. And so I feel like bringing that into Utah, that's going to make all the change in the world because, like I said before, defense travels. Wherever you go, you can bring defense with you. There might be days where, your scoring's not going, ball's not going in the basket, but you could still lock the other team up, and then everything will take care of itself. So I feel like just doing that as well as bringing some more leaders into the program, then that's just going to make all the difference in the world. So, yeah.
Roster isn't complete yet. There's still gonna be quite a few more moves that's gonna happen, but from what you see right now, the returners coming back, the guys are coming in from high school is gonna come to college as a freshman next year, and the guys that are transferring in. Like, how special can this team be, and what should fans expect from you guys?
I think we could be, as special as we want to be. I'm not going to put a limit on us or anything like that because, we make our own. You make your own destiny, so that's what we're gonna do. So, yeah.
Now, every time you step on that court, what can you guarantee fans that you're going to bring to that team? Like, what's the biggest thing that they can expect from you to bring to the program?
Um, Straps, locking up,
Mhm.
gonna be consistent leader, consistent voice, um, consistent play. Just being a guy that's gonna, try to win every day, try to win every game, and just bringing that energy uh, that would bring it out on others. So, more times than not, that would lead to what we want at the end of the day.
Absolutely, man. Well, a couple more things before I let you go. One of which is when you look at all the guys you've been a part of now and the teams and the locker rooms you've been at in college, who would you say has been the funniest teammate you've had?
Funniest teammate? Oh, funniest teammates. Wow. That was a random question. But that funniest teammate. There's
Hmm.
Roche from last year. He was hilarious. There's Diogo Brito.
Hmm.
I just have a whole list because Diogo Brito, he had no filter. Oh, like, uh, man. And then mm, Mamadi was pretty funny too. Yakite. Yeah. Those are probably my top three.
Absolutely. Well, I was like wrapping up discussing a legacy, and that's something that all guys ultra want to build for themselves. So when your time does come, you decide to step away from the game of basketball. What do you want your legacy to be like? What do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on and off the court?
Just a a great leader,
Mhm.
somebody that was never degraded others or never um, just never selfish. He was never a selfish person, but as a player, just he was very motivated, and he was the best he could be, and um, he never limited himself in any way, and just always brought the right energy to the game or to anything. So yeah.
Now, I'm not sure obviously what God's got in store for you. Obviously, if an NBA opportunity something approaches you, you probably would take that. But is there a chance that fans could expect you to come back for 2 years? Like, how likely is that something that fans could expect you to be for 2 years? Like, where are you stand on that?
Right now, I'm just focusing on this upcoming year, and whatever happens, happens.
Absolutely, man. Well, my final thing before I let you go, give Utah fans your three biggest goals you have set for your Utah career.
Mm, mm. That's something they'll just have to see. I'm more of an action person rather than lay it lay it out. So they'll see though, because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, but they'll have to wait until it actually happens.
Absolutely, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking time to come on today. Congrats on the big move again, and I'm excited to see what God got next for you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Of course, always welcome on, man. God bless.
God bless.